I would assume they just don't want to be,
But they would. About 6 months. That's what we all keep saying. She was a coworker. Coming soon.
Okay.
Coming out.
Perfect.
Some real old views here. MGM. It was cool. It was nice. Yeah.
I went down the street a little bit. And what's doing better?
I was going to say.
Thank you, Paul.
Hello, we have them all.
Great.
Copies for media will be in here shortly.
How short do you need?
Yeah. She just put it on the way.
Okay.
That's true.
Man, what's up, man?
All right, everyone's going up. Places. Good places, please. And you're good to see some.
On the way.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Is that the last one?
Last one, here, more copies of that.
Yeah, if you guys can grab those now if you want from the bigger piles.
You know, something for you.
Sorry.
I don't feel like paper.
You start passing it. I mean, yeah, sometimes they're recording, so they don't problem.
That's kind of still played out. Morning, everybody.
Hey, good to see you.
Let me know.
Good morning, everybody. Is audio working for everyone who has joined via Zoom? Good. Thank you for confirming. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. We're going to get started. Todd Flood, managing partner of Flood Law, and James Harrington, managing partner of Figueroa Law, are here today to share fresh updates on new lawsuits filed against Detroit Medical Center's Sinai Grace Hospital, its parent company Tenet Healthcare, and former DMC nurse Wilfredo Figueroa-Berrios. I'll now turn the floor over to Mr. Flood.
Good morning. As Mr. Harrington and myself predicted some time ago, the drumbeat of this case would continue, and the avalanche of evidence to show that this predator, Mr. Berrios, was on the prowl, if you will, for close to a decade of time, and the acts that he took were swept under the rug. We predicted there would be more survivors, and lo and behold, yes, there are. The background of this case, we did file our lawsuits earlier. Now we have more. I'll let Mr. Harrington talk about the suits that he has filed. We have teamed up together. We've put our team together to basically use all the resources because there are so many survivors in this case. Today, as of today, this morning, Flood Law has filed, along with the Figueroa Law firm, 2 additional lawsuits. The caveat with one of these lawsuits is the whistleblower. The whistleblower in this case was the one that gave notice and filled out the reports and brought it to the attention to the higher-ups. And instead of being accommodated, she was fired. And who stayed on? Berrios. That was at Sinai Grace. That was the ugly part of this. We're a forgiving society a lot of times, but when you want to take the person that takes it up to the next level, you'll see she reported the last sexual assault that took place, Mr. Berrios, at Sinai Grace. You'll see from that lawsuit, it lays out the allegations clearly. The next is we have a lawsuit of another survivor we filed. This survivor is one that worked with Berrios, was a nurse with Berrios. And the fact of the matter is he sexually assaulted her, and that in that particular case, it was proven necessary to go to a criminal trial. He was bound over in 36th District Court on those allegations. That was enough evidence to show probable cause that he committed this crime. Basically, a lesser standard for which we have to show in court on the Civil Act. The fact of the matter is, this case has moved forward, and we have interviewed now close to 6 other potential victims / survivors of this case since it's come down. And we will find, as we go on, and I'm predicting now, more and more to come. He was a nurse since 2012, and we have survivors dating back, some of them back to 2012. He admits, and you'll find, we have his words, not our words. We have his words where he admits he was an addict. We have his words that he was under investigation. We have Laura, where Laura, they're mandated reporters. all nurses, it makes common sense. Nurses are mandated reporters of criminal acts or sexual acts or addictions. They have to report to Laura. So anyone that claims they didn't know in these, ponds, if you will, the pool, if you will, of healthcare, that they didn't know, they turned a willful blind eye. Because as you read through the reports and you read through the complaints, you'll see that not only the nursing staff at Sinai Grace, not only the nursing staff, and you'll find this place called COPE. That's an institution that helps people that are addicted. You'll find where they all knew and all suspected what was going on. So there's more and more survivors that are coming forward. They have the courage to do so. We need them to go to the Figueroa law firm or the Flood law firm, and most importantly, the law enforcement. We're working hand in hand with law enforcement to make sure that this is taken care of. Obviously, it's a privilege to work with this guy and his team. They're amazing, and our resources put together, we will get to all of the survivors that we can, and we ask for the courage for them to step up and to come to the Figueroa law firm or the Flood law firm, and most importantly, to law enforcement.
Good morning, everyone. Todd and I stood in front of you maybe about a month ago, and we told the public of these lawsuits that had filed and that we had filed. And I thought to myself, I said, I really hope these were isolated and that we really don't get any calls. I really hope that just because talking to the survivors, their families, the pain that they have gone through is unimaginable. And I was hoping that we didn't hear from more people. Deep down, I knew that I was being optimistic, that I knew, and I told you that I knew that there were more. I was hoping that there weren't. And since we announced the filing of our initial lawsuits, our office, Todd's office, we have been receiving calls almost on a daily basis from very courageous people that worked at the hospital, that will serve as witnesses, very courageous, putting their jobs on the line, reaching out, providing us with incredibly valuable information about really what I believe the tip of the iceberg of the breadth of how widespread this was. We've been speaking to survivors almost on a daily basis of people sharing their stories, and it's almost like when we talk to them, we know exactly what they're going to say before they even finish what they're saying, because this man had a way, he had a method, and he had a certain type of person that he would prey upon. He would utilize narcotics to sedate the women so that if he was ever questioned, he could just say, my goodness, they're delusional. My goodness, they have psychiatric problems. My goodness, I would never do something like this. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. There are records that go back years where this man was interviewed by the Livonia Police Department on accounts of sexually assaulting women. We have reviewed records that are in our possession that show that he was working at Sinai Grace back as of 2012. And literally we are just scratching the surface of how broad this is, and the proportions of, epic proportions of how widespread this was is absolutely unimaginable. And my office with Mr. Piccirilli, Mr. Huebner, they have been working later than any other lawyer we have here. I'm talking to them on the phones at 9, 10 o'clock at night. I think Todd and I just spoke 2 nights ago, probably close to 10 o'clock after I was picking my son up from driver's training. And we are working around the clock. And as trial lawyers, we have an incredible responsibility, and it's an awesome responsibility. Our responsibility is to give those a voice that wouldn't otherwise have a voice, and it's something that we carry. Every day we wake up, every day we suit up, every day we show up, and we are committed to fight. And it is such an absolute honor to have somebody like Mr. Flood and his team by our sides fighting for this, because this is such an important case. And today we announce the filing of additional lawsuits. We have them here for you. There are 4 lawsuits here that detail the grotesque abuse that this man imposed on people that were vulnerable, people that were medicated, people that bones were literally broken. One from an auto wreck, as you'll read, bones, top to bottom broken, could barely move, and wakes up, her gown is completely below her feet. She couldn't have done this. She couldn't move. Her gown is by her feet, and without going into too much detail, she knew that she had just been assaulted. And this man was there, and this man did that. It's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. And I say this again, I hope we walk out today and there are no more. But deep down, I know that's not a truth. And I know the truth is that there are so many more vulnerable people, people that have been abused, people that have been assaulted, and they're probably scared. And that's okay. But we're here to help. We're here to help. And I don't want a single person to be left behind. I want their voice heard. Todd and I want to give them that voice and give them that opportunity to have justice. Because even at the end of the day, I know how this is going to work out. I know how good Todd is, how talented he is. I know our firm and our team is exceptional. And I know we're going to win justice for all of these survivors. But I have a fear that somebody will be left behind. And I don't want that. I want everybody's voice heard. Everybody's voice is important. Everybody's voice matters. And when something like this happens in an institution of trust, an institution where people are at their most vulnerable, my goodness, they're wearing just a gown that's thinner than a t-shirt and access is easier than anything. They need protection. And we can never allow this to happen. And we've just heard, I think it was just this past Friday, that another hospital institution resolved a class action for somebody with videotapes. They settled early. The investigation isn't even done, and they just wanted to quiet everybody before the investigation had been complete. And that hospital group, they paid $100 million really to just keep people quiet. So the full breadth of what happened there, where somebody was videotaping, they paid to just keep that quiet. That's not going to happen here. Our clients, these people, these human beings, will have a voice, and we will provide them with that voice. So since we have last met, Mr. Flood's office has uncovered some very extensive, very horrifying records from the Livonia Police Department that we did not have at the time of the last time we were all here, and that detail the exact modus operandi that we've seen with all of our clients. And so we're uncovering evidence, we're gathering new evidence. Probably by the time all of you leave here today and provide this story to the public, I can assure you we'll probably have additional information that we didn't have at this time, because we are working literally around the clock. I don't think that I've had a case collectively with as many people working on this case, with Todd's office included. We must have probably close to a dozen maybe more, somewhere around 12 to 14 lawyers and paralegals and legal assistants, consultants, experts working on this case day and night. So we do have these lawsuits. They have been filed. I believe the total lawsuit count is at 7, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, I want to underscore what Todd has told everybody. I mean, the whistleblower case is very, very, very important. I would urge you all to read that. And that's where somebody who was an employee, worked for Sinai Grace, and reported and was then fired. My God, what's happening? So what does that do when somebody's fired for doing the right thing, and somebody's fired for telling the truth and trying to do their job to make things safer, and then they get fired? What does that do to the other employees saying, I can't lose my job. I have children. I have a spouse. We need to put food on the table. It is very scary when an institution that we trust not only allows this to happen, but does everything within their power to just squish it out to make sure this doesn't see the light of day. Well, I tell you, community, friends, everybody, we will let this see the light of day. We will bring the light to this, and we will help every voice be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now take questions from media. If you are joining us virtually, please submit your questions with your name and outlet using the chat feature on Zoom. If you are with us in person, please put your hand up. We have a microphone that we will bring to you.
Thank you. Hi, Kara with the Detroit News. So Casey Hall's lawsuit, it says that she was working at Sinai Grace at a time when Figueroa-Berrios was known to be working at COPE. Was he at both facilities? How was that working there?
He was going back and forth between the two, COPE and Sinai Grace.
From WDIV TV.
Can you speak up just a little bit,
That's
please?
okay. Sonny from WDIV
Hi,
TV. Are you finding it that whenever this hits the media or on TV, you're going to be getting more and more people? Are people looking at this saying, okay, let me come forward?
Well, you have to understand there's a major difference between, individuals, say, who are in a car accident or a car wreck, and there's certain type of trauma and damage that comes from that. But I've represented a lot of people, and I know Todd has as well, of people that have been survivors of sexual violence. And there's a lot of things that go on inside somebody's head, some of which are, what was my role in this? I must have done something wrong. And there's a lot of shame that these survivors feel, and fear. And there is a reluctance to come forward, and there's a reluctance to talk, and there's a more of a slant towards, it's all going to be okay. I just don't want to think about it. I don't want, I need to, I can't think about it, but it's there, right? It's there. Guess what? It happened. And so what my hope is that people, through maybe support groups, through their families, or even themselves, get the courage to come forward. Because I handled a trial down in Houston, Texas, with 2 women that were survivors of sexual violence. They got brutally raped multiple times by workers at a resort in Jamaica. And I saw it firsthand. I saw the pain and the fear. But when we won the jury trial, it was almost like they listened, they heard us, and their voices were heard. So you ask if, when Todd and I come in front of you and talk, and the hope is to get cases. No, it's not. The hope is to make a better place. The hope is that people will get the courage, because there's healing in coming forward. There's healing in talking. There's healing in accepting that it actually did happen and it wasn't a figment of your imagination like, people like, Berrios would try to say when he would sedate them. My goodness, they're dementia, they're sedated. It never happened. There's healing in being validated. And that's my hope, is that every voice is heard, every survivor is validated.
John Hewitt from WWJ. Forgive me, a couple of my questions may be, I've heard of this story from the periphery, have not covered it directly until today. But for clarity, 7 total lawsuits between what was filed today or recently and then before 3 weeks ago, or can you clarify how many of those are what I would use the description of direct contact victims of alleged assault versus a whistleblower case, or can you synopsize for me to this point, how many cases, how many assault alleged victims?
So of the 7, there's one that's the whistleblower. So right now, as today, we have 6 that have been sexually assaulted, direct contact with Berrios. So if that answers your question, the backdrop of this is that not only is there 6 that have been filed, there's 6 that are under investigation to be filed, so that we give you a total of 12. The government, the prosecution in this case, has 11, I believe, right now, 3 that have just been bound over for trial in criminal court in rape, so criminal sexual conduct. So I hope that gives you the answer to your question as far as the texture of how many people are out there that we currently have. There's 7. Of those 7, one's a whistleblower.
Timeline.
Let me just add one thing.
Please.
And just so your numbers are good, there's an additional 4 that we have that are currently under investigation, and we're obtaining records and investigating those as well.
Do you expect to file more charges, or file more cases, I should say?
Very soon.
Absolutely.
Timeline, help me with, please. Todd, I believe you mentioned Sinai Grace since 2012, excuse me, for Mr. Figueroa-Berrios. I'm curious, in a rough sense, the timeline of the alleged cases that you're filing versus potentially, is it 13 years he could have been doing this then, or longer? I'm trying to get my arms around how long he was in this position, in this role, potentially as an abuser, versus what specifically has been charged over the last 3, 4, 5 years. I'm trying to get my arms around it.
Well, a rapist doesn't wake up one day and decide he's going to be a rapist. A gentleman or a person that does this monstrous acts, this is something that he's been doing for a long time. How far does it go back? That's anyone's guess right now. We know he was a nurse. He admits to being a nurse in 2012. We have records that show that he was under investigation as early as 2017. We also have cases that we're investigating that date prior to that are not filed as of right now. So I don't know when he first did a criminal sexual misconduct case. I don't know that exact date. Only he would know, and potentially another, survivor. So as of right now, to give your timeline, we're investigating a case of 2017. We have records that show, because he started as a nurse, it's stated in the complaint, he started as a nurse in 2012. We state in our complaint that he worked at Sinai Grace on multiple occasions. Not only, just most recently, but he was there prior to 2024 and 2025. He was there, and he admits to it. He talks about it. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. My last question, I don't mean to monopolize, but I'm curious. When I first heard of this case, one of my first thoughts was how somebody would have the opportunity to do this, let alone administratively, his behavior being brought to their attention, and whether there's some issues obviously there. But other nurses on call, other nurses at a station, I'm showing my ignorance here, but if you can lend any insight into how someone as a nurse would have this type of time and access to patients to commit this type of alleged abuse.
A couple things, and I'll let Jim talk about that as well. Crimes most of the time don't happen in the middle of